All right, state your name and age.
James Herbert Matson. I'm 60 and a half years old.
What is the date today, to the best of your knowledge? What is the date
My
today?
serial number, that's all you're going to get.
Yeah.
I don't have it. It's, the date today, I don't know, was it 22nd?
We're somewhere in September
21st?
of 2023.
Yes,
Right.
yes. Day 10,439 of physical transfiguration.
Really?
Well, it's a lot of days.
Well, how long is that in years?
So you want from the very beginning, the or do you want the beginning of the,
Just tell the story.
okay. Well, I was born a poor, no, spinal issues, crazy stuff. I was 22, was in the hospital, ready for lower back fusion, and leg just started going crazy. That came out of nowhere, so that was quite a quite an experience. Never considered being that ill, or the thought of having fusion surgery. It was just like one day I'm at work, 3 days later I'm at a hospital, and a week later contemplating lower back fusion. And there was no injury. I just woke up one day and legs just going crazy. So
It's moving on its own.
yeah, there's fire and cramps, and it was jumping around, and it just went through a series of what I now know, whatever caused myofascial or ligaments, from lower back. It just kind of, pulled the toes in, turned the knee the other way, and kind of set the right leg in the hip, and it just, yeah, it was like something just grabbed it, and but I didn't have a whole lot of body awareness back then. Just there's a leg and things are happening. What I now know, what happened through experiencing the opposite, things regenerating. I just went with the doctors. Oh, you have degenerative disc disease. I have a disease? Oh yeah, your discs are deteriorating. Everybody's does, but it's happening to you sooner. Like, what? So what I've come to learn is there's no such disease. It's a label. It's somehow, oh, your discs look funny, and it's hitting a nerve, and so that's why you're getting the pain, because it's hitting that. And so if we go in there and we fuse that, you won't be hitting that nerve, and then things will be okay. So basically, just kind of go in there and carve out, God's little discs, and put some dead bone in there and steel plate. Zzz. And after a month or two, you should be ready to go back to work. But after about a week, surgery was scheduled for a few more days, and I just had a day. It wasn't getting worse, because every day it was just getting worse. It was like, oh, okay, I guess this is what's happening. But just, okay, it's not getting better. I can't live like this, but it's not getting worse. Hold off on the surgery. So 15 years go by, and I'm just, totally altered my life. Because I would have just, saw boards, stacked boards, a dollar board, I wouldn't have used my mind. It would be blue collar, dig holes, build things. I just didn't have any body awareness or conscious. I didn't see anything in the world to, get all smart about to do. So it kind of, I guess you won't be doing physical labor. You won't be doing a lot of things. But so, yeah, that was a kind of a shocker coming in at 22.
So when does the movement start getting back in?
So about 15 years later, we have more regression. I did the best I can with swimming, until I probably messed up my neck from repetitive motion, and there was already tightness that I didn't know any different. It's all I've ever experienced.
Mm.
Later, in recent years, I've come to realize he's seriously disfigured. Just couldn't see it. Just everything was pulling so tight. But I didn't know that wasn't necessarily normal. I didn't feel comfortable. But yeah, so I'm trying to do exercises and trying to do the yoga and okay, alignment says you should do it this way. Well, my body had nothing to do with normal alignment, so this wasn't working. So about 15 years later, mid 30s, same thing happened to my right arm. Like, what? Wait, what's happening? Does it work? By this time, I was into computer programming, so I just, I was like,
That's your left arm.
that's my left arm.
You said right arm.
Did I?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Because the right arm, I'm looking over there.
Ah, yes.
Anyway, so the left arm goes up, and it was just numb, fire, uncontrollable stuff, and that went on for a few days. But yeah, the degenerative disc disease thing again. Oh, now it's up in your neck. So there's some, they're degenerating and it's deformed and it's causing problems with the nerve. So this time, I have a relationship, I have bills, I have a career. I guess I can't work like that. So
But not the video thing. Don't leave it.
Yeah.
Like, I just use the voice.
Okay. Well, I only got about a few minutes on this version. We could tape something in later because But yeah, so that was 15 years into it, and it just, the problem really wasn't, there was no disease, and the lower back wasn't getting any better, and the left arm going from problems up in the neck, it's pretty convincing. You look at x-rays, you look at the MRIs, ooh, scary, all these words, and you see those things, and like, oh, just a little bit, and that's what's causing all this problem. Like, wow. So I'm just terrified to even be in my body anymore.
So how
But-
did the movement come in?
Pardon?
So how did the movement come in? In terms of
Oh, the movement of now?
yeah.
Yeah, well, so that was the one. We went in, we carved up the left side of my neck. Okay, go back to work. Okay, went back to work. A year later, oh, there goes the right arm, twirling around.
Wait, you had a thing with your right arm, right? That's what you said, right?
It was the
thing-
right leg,
Right.
then it was the left arm 15 years
the
later,
left arm.
and then it was the right arm.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. It was the left arm.
Right.
Oh, and then it was back to the right leg became a big problem.
But you
And
still
so,
didn't do any surgery,
well,
right?
22 scheduled, didn't go through.
Right.
15 years, left arm goes.
Right.
I go in and I have surgery, partial laminectomy on my cervical spine up in the neck. Okay, go back to work. Okay. Well then, whoop, a year later, the right leg starts going crazy again. Okay, so now we're going for a partial discectomy on the lumbar. Okay, go back to work. Okay. In an unsustainable relationship and other stuff. Well, okay, a year later, that's 3 years in a row now, getting the trifecta. The right arm. I'm like, what the? I said, oh, yeah, we're going to have to actually
It just
do.
becomes uncontrollable.
Yeah, it
It just
just.
moves on its own.
If you imagine a bunch of wires that are, running through all the way from your fingers, full length, everywhere. Just imagine the body, everything. There are no muscles, there's just bones. And then there's different styles of elastic stuff that group together, maybe a muscle, maybe cartilage, but they all function at some point as they swirl around your bones as rubber bands or as prodding sticks. They're either being pushed or pulled by something. and it's all spirals.
So
So it's all these spirals, and so what happened was something at different areas triggered just a huge pull-in of all those wires, and then the body, I think, has like different stops where it can kind of stop things. So it's like an elevator
that's only
falling.
a contraction.
No, it wasn't just a momentary tick. It was because physically something became unhooked. And then, like an elevator, like a cargo carrier, it goes up and down to different floors. You have all the cables. If you look inside the elevator shaft, you'll see all these pulleys and ropes.
Right.
Well, if you just cut one of those,
Can you
the wires will start flying everywhere until something catches.
can you show me like physically what it looks like when you had it? Like let's say I'll turn it around, right? So like show me your right arm under that condition, like
Type thing, and then all of a sudden, like, first there's pain, and then there's numbness, and then there's like cold, and then there's pinpricks, and then it just keeps going
but
back and forth.
the movement you showed me,
The movement is just, it was like something pulled in the thumb.
and it's stuck here.
No, it wasn't like, oh, no, I'm stuck here. It was just a constant, there was nowhere for it to go, but it wouldn't stop.
But you were moving the arm.
No, the arm was moving.
So-
I was on the keyboard, and then my arm's up here. I'm like, what the? And so I have to grab my arm to stop it from moving.
So go for 1 minute of that kind of motion silently, just to see what it looks like.
I just do what I just did there,
Yeah.
for a minute.
Yeah.
That's just what it would do. And I'm trying to like, well, wait, what's going on? And so I'm trying to where
Dude,
can I stabilize?
Come on, a minute.
Where this is what's happening.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm, 6-figure job. I got a suit and tie. I'm at my desk. I'm not going to be going, what the fuck is going on?
Okay.
I'm just like, what the? And I just somehow, after, I don't know, some time, I just grabbed my car keys and I just got the hell out of there. And I think
'Cause you-
probably rolled around in the parking lot and eventually just, drove. I knew there was, was it the, yeah, it was the emergency room. I don't know if it was the hospital or medical clinic, but yeah, I just went in there and that's. But it just so it never really stopped. It stopped the moving. The moving was the myofascia becoming ripped and torn, and then the counter. If you put your wrist down, any yogis, and if you hit different pressure points, boom, other parts of your body move.
Yeah.
We're just loaded with all those, perfectly balanced. Throw one of those things off, and it's like it just.
So let's say you just hold your hands out, just to see what it looks like when you don't move.
I'm not sure why we're going down to what that looked like, because it's exactly what I'm doing. This is what it did.
Yeah.
This is what it did. And,
Yeah.
yeah. And the leg, when it did it, I have to get out of the vehicle, and on my way to the hospital or wherever I was going, hopefully, and then I'd have to just pull off the road. I'd fall out of the car and I'd wedge myself under the car to stop, because there's the force of 10 million gods is just pulling wires in all different directions. And of course, it's snaring the joints and the knuckles and the wrists. Things are getting twisted around, like just this one here, these two were the last ones that everything got pulled in. It just rips right through. If you had a nice flank steak, very thin, and then you had strings in it, and you just roll that up, boom, there's your arm, just rip. Just rip the string out of there. It just rips all the flesh, rips all the myofascia, runs through all sorts of stuff, and whatever that was holding, all that stuff's going, well, wait, what do I do now?
Right.
And so basically ended up with the ribs, with that round, with the ribs stuck to the hip, and the ones that were still there, the others are just flying around in the back.
The way you describe this is beautiful from it's your point of view, and I'm trying to connect what I see visually being outside of you with what you were experiencing back then. So what I'm curious is this motion that you just seen of your arms or leg when this happened, was it familiar to you in any way?
No.
So,
No, this
so,
is,
so this was the first time you saw this kind of motion.
yeah, when the legs started doing that, it wasn't as, in my face and as articulate as the fingers, but I could see the wrist or the ankles going one way, the foot's going the other, and my leg is being pulled up to my face uncontrollably, and then something will pull from the other side of my back, and then I felt like the lower back, all of a sudden it's like something took wires and just went, I could just feel it. All of a sudden everything just stopped and it went, and it just collapsed. Boom.
So I want to start from the other side, of the story, like the now, going a bit backward, but like just thinking about the now. You have something that's moving you, right? This.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about this thing.
Well, what I know now is we don't animate ourselves because, oh, here, let me go walk. And then I walk because I decided. I have to decide to walk. If I don't want to walk, I'm not going to walk. But there's a lot more. I decide to walk. Well, that's not what makes me walk. There's something that makes us sock puppets stand up straight, and we're in balance. We figure, oh, we're just this thing, and we're just balancing. And if I put a little more on my left, I'll be a little more on my right. Everything's good. You unhook. Just imagine all the wires are just a million of them around bones, which are rolling pins. I don't believe any of the stuff is actually attached to the bones. It's not. At least in my case, it's clearly not, because things are just coming from everywhere. But something will hold it to the bone, and the bone is just there to hold the spirals. And you click one of those, and you'll get a whoop. If you click one of the main ones, like the two snakes that go up your spine, around your spine, unhook one of those, the wires just go everywhere. Or parts of that, because it's not like, oh, there's this tendon, there's this whatever. Anything is many different things. And everything, anything serves some part of everything. So that's a curse and a blessing.
Wait, so what's something unhooked within you?
Yes. That's what I look back and know now, because the last one I could actually feel something rip from underneath my rib cage, and I could just feel it. Like, what was,
Right.
and oh,
Is it shown in?
and so I can go back and I can extrapolate. Well, that's what was happening here,
Right.
and on the forward motion where the recovery has been happening, the body is initiating through chi or whatever. It's pushing back up. So I don't know if it's like growing a new one. Well, the neck, for example, I can feel sometimes like something just shoots up from one place to another and connects. And then things start to build around that. And if you undo that, well, everything's pulling over here.
So how did you have
There's
this?
a range that we have where things can be not perfect, but there's a certain part where like it just tips the scales and something rips, or God wants your attention, and just, oh, you do that, and well, now you have something to consider.
And by that time, you're still working with, I don't know, MRIs and like X-rays and whatnot.
Yes, and they're showing a static version of what you're convinced is separate parts. But what you're seeing is an aspect of the same being. A spine isn't like something that needs to be strong in itself, and then the spine is there to be encased by, some beautiful vessel, and around that vessel is strong as anything, where just a million things connect to it. And if there's a collapse on that, like the wires get too much pulled one way, you're going to get a squeeze.
Right.
Well, that's not a disc problem. It's a problem for your disc. It's not a disc problem. That's a God problem. That's a past life problem. That's an injury problem where something became disconnected. and now it's, you know, has to balance over here instead. Well, now this is doing stuff that it wasn't designed to do. Now it struggles to do what it was supposed to. This other thing can't even happen, so it's just being frozen. And so it's just these in various degrees throughout the entire body. And so the last thing I experienced on the demise was quite literally, I think, just the two snakes that go up, and the one just got severely damaged and just collapsed. And so a lot of the numbness, a lot of the, oh, okay, oh yeah, that's C3, that's C4, that's the discs. Not necessarily. It's because, oh, you get your nerves cut here. Oh, I had numbness and loss of feeling and movement and all these things. It wasn't just because of, oh, the twirl that stopped twirling, now you're okay. Now you're in one god-awful mess, and how in the world do you ever get out of something like that? And that's the miracle that I've been able to experience, and we can talk more in part 2.
All right.
What do you think?
I'm really curious about the miracle thing.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of rushing through this, but it's important to know about it. But we'll get more of this with the recovery part as well.
All right.
And it's going to be impossible, really, without, you know, some diagram. And I can draw some pictures of what I imagine.
All right.
You know,
we'll bring papers. We'll do it.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right.
I hope it helps somebody, many people in many different ways, because there's a little piece of it in there for all of us, I think. Yeah, I took the whole thing, and I'm being given back the whole thing and more. So, yeah, beautiful day.